Hello and welcome to the two-man power trip of wrestling. I am your host, JP John Paz, and with me today is Mr. RBV himself. He's also, of course, a member of the Hameen Media Group and a member of the two-man power trip as well. RBV, Richard Bronson Vickery. What's going on, Rick? How you doing today, sir?
Paz, my friend, how are we doing this afternoon? A beautiful Taco Tuesday, hashtag Taco Tuesday. Dude, I'm pumped about this episode. I think we got a hot topic here. I think it's going to generate some great conversation, and as I said, then I'm gonna transition that into some tacos. And I promised Hameen, he and I had this great debate yesterday on the Monday locker room about guacamole. I am not a guac guy. Ben is big time into it. How about you, Paz?
Don't like it, and it's weird because I kind of like avocados, but I don't like it all mushed up into guacamole at all. Not a fan whatsoever.
To me, I guess well a little bit different. It's just I have no feeling towards it because I don't feel that there's a lot of flavor behind it.
Right.
But
It's weird, yeah.
apparently to Ben, you're in the same camp as me that we are doing it completely wrong. I guess when he was in Chicago, he learned from the OGs, some real mofos from down the way that knew how to make theirs. So I guess us white middle class D-bags have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah, we have no idea what's going on. Yeah, it's true. But hey, today is going to do something a little bit different here. Not just a straight up interview, just going to do something completely different. And you kind of thought of the idea and the way to do it. Really go over the 2021 WWE releases, kind of build our own roster and almost make like a competition and figure out who you would keep, who you would not keep. Basically, how you would start a promotion with just the releases. And believe me, you could, because there were so many damn releases. Over 50 guys have been released, and girls and talents have been released in 2021, just 2021. So even if we went back to 2020, we'd have a list of over 100. So it's just insane what's going on. What is going on over there in WWE land right now?
Well, I think it was just they went and ate up so much of the market of the talent. Remember that for years, people said, what are they doing? They're signing all these people. How are they going to be able to manage all of this? And now I think that you're really seeing that we've kind of moved on from the COVID issues, the lockdowns, all of that, whatever it might be. And they're getting back to business as usual here. They're just streamlining everything. This is regular business practice. Well, I don't understand why people are so freaking out about this here. You had to have seen what this was coming. Yeah. I'm more interested in seeing now that you're seeing a flood of talent back onto the open market. What kind of frenzy is that going to create, top to bottom? We're talking about roster size here. AEW right now is up over 120 talents listed on their roster. How much more room do they have for these that are going to be looking for employment? And we know as soon as you leave WWE, you have a higher price tag on you. You have that WWE sticker, your asking price is going to be so much more significant just because you have that background, that training. You've been inside the world's greatest system. Now if AEW lets some people go there, those people they're going to ask for more money on that market because they've been on AEW television. They've had that exposure. They've worked, even though they're so young, one of the biggest countries in the world. And that's going to trickle down to Ring of Honor, to Impact Wrestling. I mean, it's going to go all the way down to guys like me at the Professional Wrestling Alliance when we're trying to book different talents here, because they're going to say, I've already seen it, locally here. You've got some talents. So I won't say any names, but I'll throw out some numbers here. So let's say a talent had been working for like $75 a show. They go do a couple spots on AEW Dark, which is just really internet exposure. But then, they're double and tripling their local booking fee. So you feel it kind of throughout the industry. And that's what a lot of people, they're just kind of just looking at the talent, the creative wise on the surface, what's happening. But to me, it's just fascinating to see how the frenzy that it's going to create and all these different wheels are going to be in motion throughout the entire business aspect of the wrestling.
Just crazy, like, just to think of people getting so upset about it, because I've been told too, like, it's a course correction. They hired way too many guys. They had way too many people in NXT. Vince went down there about a month ago. He kind of check things out. They lost the Wednesday Night War, so that's another thing. Like, okay, we don't need all this talent and stuff. We're going to go back into the old school when Dusty was there, and we're going to make it into a real developmental territory. We don't need to be the third brand. They also went to USA and tried to get third brand, like marketing rights or TV rights, really, for the channel. That didn't happen. So, I mean, I guess the ratings weren't where they were wanted to be or where they were supposed to be. So it just looked like NXT in general, because that's where most of these cuts came from, NXT and the Performance Center. It seemed like they are definitely course correcting themselves and definitely getting back to basics where they should be. And if you're in any sort of business, or if you ran any sort of business, you know that budget is always key. Now, if they're implementing,
it's number one that you're looking at, especially as you're going here into your fourth quarter. How much can we really save on this back end of 2021?
And if you are doing what they're doing and putting everything to a budget now, if everything's getting streamlined, if Johnny Ace and Bruce Pritchard are kind of overseeing Triple H and NXT now, you definitely want to say, let's see here. The budget is way too high. Why do we have 100 and whatever, 130 guys here? We only need 50, or whatever the case may be. It just seems like everything is kind of going the way it should, just as far as monetarily and budget reasons, because it was getting crazy for a while. I mean, anybody that had even inkling of a name I saw from the indies was getting signed by NXT. It was just so weird. It didn't make sense to what they normally would do years ago as far as bringing guys in and developing talent.
Well, and let's go back before, and you have so many fans that really just want to remember NXT for what it was in its early days, or maybe even link that to Florida Championship Wrestling. Remember the system before that was multiple indie promotions that they highly had trusted, that would kind of cultivate these talents, try to direct them in that style of WWE, and WWE would just help with funding in those places. You had the greats there, which I was fortunate that we worked with so many people that went through OVW. I was fortunate enough growing up here in Southern Ohio that OVW ran our town. They were on our weekly television, so I got to see a lot of these these just mega stars, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, John Cena, and all that before they really hit the scene. And there's so many stars too that, man, I would have bet everything I had back then in my 20s, looking at them like these guys are going to be main event WrestleManias for years to come, and you never can tell what's going to happen inside that system. You mentioned something that's kind of interesting, Paz, is, this week we kept hearing this third brand. And a lot of that was to sell professional wrestling to these networks. As they had, Fox come into play, they had to fill that void for USA. So, hey, we got this other great product that's coming up. It's going to be the hottest entity. It's the alternative to what we have. It's something different, unique. And unfortunately, it didn't pan out. I asked Ben this the other day. Let me ask you, is there just too much wrestling?
I think so. It's getting a little out of hand, because you got Impact, you got MLW, you got ROH, you got NWA, you got Raw, you got SmackDown, you got NXT, you got AEW, now adding another show. I mean, and New Japan, plus New Japan USA, plus AAA is trying to invade a little bit here in the USA. CMLL is still out there here and there as far as the States, and obviously they have a deal, or used to have a deal with Ring of Honor, but it does feel like way too much wrestling going on.
I know a lot of people would say, well, look, back in the day, there was all these territories, but you don't have the outlets for the exposure. I mean, now we can all stay in tune. I mean, there's how many television channels now is composed that we're seeing. I mean, just you and I, turn on the cable here, and you can find wrestling anywhere. There's probably wrestling on right now somewhere, if I looked hard enough for it, just on cable television, let alone what we can do on the internet with your fight TVs, your Ignites, whatever is out there. The exposure and just the amount of wrestling. And unfortunately, in a lot of the cases, it's just not good wrestling.
Very true. So as far as what we want to do here, we'll talk about the talents. We'll kind of build a roster. We'll build some competition. Like I mentioned, we'll first want to go over this is the talents that were released. Oh, I got over 50 names that I saw. I may even be missing some. There were so many that got released.
I was saying, before you jump in there, just to kind of reiterate what we're doing here is Paz and myself. We each fell into a nice little pot of money here. We have enough to start up a national promotion. And we're looking, and our pool is simply from these WWE talents that have been released this year. Now we'll each kind of tell you our logic, our are the maybe the fundamentals, the mission of our promotion, what we're looking for, and now we're over 50, but we can't sign them all. So we're going to try to keep it at, what do we agree on here? 25 to 30, somewhere in that range?
Yep. I could barely get to 25 as far as what I wanted. So I'm about 23, 25. I could get to 25, I guess, but that's pretty much the range of the guys. So obviously it would be cut in half. So the guys that are released, we're going to cut them in half. We're going to create our own roster. It could be anything: men, women,
Well, I say
legends,
too, you got to
big
take
names. Yeah, you got to pick everything.
You got to look at who's going to be positioned on your card. How strong is each of your divisions going to be? Where are they going to contribute? So let's start with the Undisputed. I guess the fun part. Did you come up with a unique name for your promotion?
So I want to almost do WCW 2.0 and do a reboot, but hey, they own those letters. I can't use that. They own WCW, which sucks. But so I just PPW, Paz Pro Wrestling. Very simple. I want to do a national TV deal, obviously, but I also want to have a streaming partner, which is key now and very huge. Not just using YouTube, but obviously you use YouTube and the Twitch and other things. But would love to get on Amazon or Amazon Prime, something like that, or Pluto TV or something where they're really kicking ass right now in the streaming world.
Maybe over at the realmnetwork.com.
Oh yeah, maybe the Realm Network. Yeah, a 5-year plan, of course, to turn a profit, just like AEW supposedly has a 5-year plan to turn a profit. Right now they're in the red. I would like to be more towards the black and then eventually the green by year 5. But that's fine. They created a video game and they want to spend millions of that. I don't want to do that just quite yet. I want some big names, some recognizable names for the mainstream, but I want to build some young stars too. And with just these released guys, so I can't just say, "Oh, I want to use Roman Reigns." It's just the guys that were released, and that's how we're going to start this promotion. And we can't take anybody else from anybody else. It's just the guys that were released. They may be a part of AEW, a few of them now, but obviously some of them were released a little bit more sooner than that, or a little bit more relative closer to this date were released.
Very, very nice. Well, for my promotion, and I've thought about this for a while. I was thought, what would be really cool names? Of course, where I'm co-promoting now is the
PWA.
professional. Yeah, it's very basic and plain, and we did that by design because we wanted to feel very old school territory days. But I think for this project, I had to go back into the files, and I got one here, and I think about where professional wrestling needs to go. We're truly, and I know people just throw this out, we're in this boom period. I don't believe that at all. I think we really have yet to see that next great boom. So I'm looking for that next great frontier. I'm looking for that next destination for civilization. Somewhere we can go where it's about rebuilding and rebranding. So I'm going to call mine Pro Wrestling Mars, which like in society is our next great frontier, is trying to get us off of this rock we call Earth into the red planet. And I also like the Mars name, as he is the Roman god of war.
Oh, interesting. So like Jericho for a second there.
I always like that name. So I'm going to go with that for mine here. And as you said, you want that big TV deal, but it is absolutely crucial that you work in some kind of streaming, that you're looking for those alternatives, for those that are cutting the cords, that you're using social media. So actually, inside of that, we're going to empower social media, where you see some of the disconnect from the characters and personas on television. We're going to embrace that, but we're also going to have strict rules in there as well, as we're going to have a social media manager. If you go something that's against the grain, you're going to get in trouble there. So if I don't think you can handle that, you might not be the fit for us. Also inside our beliefs, kayfabe is not dead. It just has to evolve. We have to learn how to work the stories and the system to confuse and maybe mislead. I don't want to say mislead, but intrigue our audience with what is really there. Blur those lines in a modern concept between reality and what kayfabe, what we're doing on television. So I want to build around personas and storytelling. So I'm not overly impressed by your movesets. We're talking about people that were at WWE. They're ready. They're tremendous athletes. They're all going to have something unique. Now, can you get into that? Are you going to have a great persona? Can you tell stories? And can you get behind our new kayfabe and social media policies?
Nice. Are you one of those people that think because of you were in WWE you have a bad stigma, or you think that's a good thing that you're an ex-WWE person?
I think it's one of those where maybe you have to. I don't want to use a blanket answer. I think you got to look at each individual on their own merits, what they took from that system. Now, are they into the petty, dirty politics? Do they simply think just because they were in WWE that they're a made superstar? Are they done really trying to reach for the stars, if you will? I haven't made my list yet. We're going to go through here. I have a spreadsheet up here, and I have 3 columns. I have all the names that were released. Then I have on the fence. Then I have my Gods of War category. So as we talk through them, I'm going to kind of place them somewhere and see where I end up at the end of this.
Just going to quickly go through everybody that was released in 2021. So bear with me here for a second. Ric Flair, The Big Show, Mark Henry, Christian, Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Andrade, Buddy Murphy, Lars Sullivan, Samoa Joe, although he kind of technically is not technically, he did go back, so he can't really pick him, but I wanted to throw his name on here because he did release him, but Triple H brought him back. Bobby Fish, Bronson Reed, Tyler Russ, Kona Reeves, Leon Ruff, Stefan Smith, Jake Atlas, Desmond Troy, Ari Sterling, Zachariah Smith, Asher Hale, Giant Zangier, Mercedes Martinez, Marina Shafir, Santana Garrett, Jessame Duke, Lana, Ruby Riott, Peyton Royce, Billy Kay, Mickey James, Chelsea Green, Killian Dane, Kurt Stallion, August Gray, the Bollywood Boys, Tyler Breeze, Fandango, Arturo Hujas, Tony Nese, Arya Davari, Everrise, great tag team there, Steve Cutler, Wesley Blake, Tucker, Kalisto, and Bo Dallas. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Whew, that's
breathe, pause, breathe.
50 plus talents released. Man, that's crazy. You got to be saving a couple mil there, savings at least with all those cuts.
Absolutely. I mean, just kind of looking at it over the last couple of days when we started planning this thing, but to actually hear it, hear the list just kind of run off there, pretty incredible.
So if you think about it, let's just say everybody, even though some of them obviously would, especially the bigger names I named, would make $100,000 a year. Times that times 50, was that 5 million? So, I mean, that's a crap load of money that's being saved per year right there, just by releasing all of them. I know obviously some of them are worth more, some of them worth less, or whatever you want to say, but man, like that's a big budgetary save there. But will some of them come back to bite them in the ass? Like, let's just say, I know Christian hasn't been lighting the world on fire in AEW, but could he be somebody in a new promotion that you'd be interested in? You know what I mean? Like, who would really interest you? Who is like somebody sticks out right away? You're like, okay, I can make money with them. That was a mistake by WWE. They shouldn't have cut this person. Why did they release this person? Who's kind of the first name you think of there?
Well, that is kind of a tough one. And one of the biggest things, the problems with WWE, and I feel that really the wrestling bubble is not growing. We're not seeing new viewers or the lapsed fan. I mean, we've just got this group that is so intensely into this thing, but who are the individuals that can cross over, that people are going to recognize? Maybe not just like recognize, but when we do go hit the marketing trail and we're on those campaigns that are going to be the ones best served in selling the product. And I really think somebody like Christian that makes that connection. I mean, that's a tremendous name there. A lot of these in here, I think someone that really knows the business, that she's intelligent, she's articulate. You sat down with her recently as she's getting ready for an NWA Empower, Mickey James.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these other ones, those two are the ones that really jump out at me here. Obviously, and I think great personalities and their older talents as well. Big Show, Mark Henry. They are professional. They look like professional wrestlers. They're entertaining. They're engaging. They're intriguing. And I think there's a ton of talent all over this list here.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it is maybe they just need the new exposure, and some just need some rebuilding.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes WWE they'll bring you in and like completely kill whatever momentum you had, or they'll have no idea what to do with you. But it's like, wow, like over here they really knew. Just
So
because I
who
was
jumped out at
thinking,
you?
just in general, I was just thinking, just totally not on this list, totally just random thought. Like Luger, for instance, WWE got a hold of Lex Luger, completely killed his momentum. He was a star in WCW, he was a star in the NWA. He was awesome to me, anyway. They take him, completely killed him. It didn't work. Shows up on Nitro, and in 2 seconds got over like insane and became a main eventer again. It's like, man, it's like just sometimes WWE is the master and the great marketer, and sometimes they'll take a guy and they'll absolutely kill him. So the first guy I just thought of, like as far as this list, like Alistair Black, I'm like, man, it just I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, maybe whatever. I know AEW signed him as soon as that 30-day release because he was still on the NXT contract. Somehow they didn't know it, so his 30 days came up. I don't know. For some reason, I see something there. I don't know if WWE just didn't know what to do with him or it was a mistake releasing him. But I feel like I could do something with him just as far as like, okay, he's got a presence to him. Maybe work on his promos or maybe have a manager with him or do something with him. But there's something I like with that character. He's very dark. He's devious. I mean, you can always kind of do something with a guy like that. He's athletic in the ring. He could be a main eventer for a new promotion right off the bat. Obviously, he's the main eventer in AEW right off the bat. I mean, they used him and took out the boy Cody Rhodes in a bit of a squash. So to me, Aleister Black, it was just a name that jumped off. It's like, wow, I wonder why they released this guy. Just it didn't make sense, especially he was in the main event, not a main event feud in WWE, but he was on the main event of SmackDown the week before they released him. So it's like they saw something in him too, obviously.
Well, I think here's we'll talk about it since he's on the run right now. I love him talent wise. As you said, there is something unique. You have that dark mystic kind of vibe about him. As I talked earlier, though, you're gonna have to, if you come to Pro Wrestling Mars, you're gonna have to know how to work your social media and represent your on-air persona. Dude, no more YouTube shows with you and the wife and your kittens and your kitty
Right.
cats, and
Right.
no more Twitch Q&As. That's gotta go. We get that under control. Yeah.
There's money there. There's definitely money to be made. Just he wasn't the first name I wrote down though, but he was the first name as far as like active in ring guy that I could do something with. Maybe do like an Undertaker type, not gimmick, but like that kind of role where he's going to be, like you said, no Twitch, no none of that. He's going to be the dark, devious kind of mind, but he's definitely going to be up on my card, possibly in the main event right away. But the first name I wrote down was Ric Flair, just because I want some mainstream. I want people to get recognized and be like, holy shit, Ric Flair is part of a new wrestling promotion. And I know somebody online wrote like a joke, oh, Flair's going to start something with Conrad or whatever. And I know they were joking, but when you put Flair's name on something, you get eyeballs. He's maybe more popular than ever somehow, which is nuts, but he's so mainstream. It's ridiculous. All the rappers love him. ESPN's doing documentaries on him. You know what I mean? He's just
Well, I mean,
somehow
look,
more.
he pops up in
He's
across.
pop
He's in
culture.
college
Yeah.
locker rooms everywhere.
Yes.
And,
Yeah. It's
he
on
actually,
ESPN all the time. Yeah.
I absolutely move him over here in just a moment. He is on board with my promotion, and this might be a hard pill for so many to swallow. Ric Flair right now is more over than I'll be generous, 98% of professional wrestlers today. And we talk regularly on our series, Who Is, if we're talking about the greatest matches, greatest moments, greatest promos, whatever the case might be. We regularly talk about how what Flair contributed to pro wrestling has stood the test of time, that people are still talking about it today. And look at the commercials that he's still doing left and right. I mean, Flair is everywhere when it comes to terms of professional wrestling. Everyone's going to love to have him on the show. Now, what kind of role I would put him in, I'm not exactly sure. I think it's obviously, as one of your spokesmen, your talking heads, you got him out there on that PR trail, but you want to incorporate him into your programming to get people to tune in. I don't know if I use him on a weekly basis.
Right.
I thought maybe a commissioner role if I wanted to go that route, but it would be much more like a Jack Tunney. than, hey, let me come, the regular, the status quo today. Let me come kick off the show and call out the bad guy and set up the match, or, interrupt here. We're going to make a tag team match. I wouldn't want that. I'd want to come up with something. I guess it's not unique, but it's so old that it's unique or new.
I would want the visual for my first show too. Let's say he's, could be the president, but I want him to be some sort of spokesman or figurehead for my company for sure. But that first show or leading to a title match, whenever your first champion is crowned, I want that picture of Flair with the belt, handing the champion the belt. You want that look, you want that aura, you want him to kind of give that rub off to that guy. He's just such a huge name, obviously in the history of the business, but even now, mainstream pop culture is such a big name. I want that kind of star appeal and mass appeal to rub off on, could be Aleister Black or whoever. I want it to rub off on them because Flair's a god of wrestling, but he's just such a phenomenon outside of wrestling. It's just crazy how popular he has just gotten. Every year gets more and more popular. I want that visual, that picture, that video, whatever it is. I want it to go viral. Flair giving whoever it is like the title. That would be perfect.
Now, let me ask you this: as we're talking, just because you'd mentioned like Luger before. Now we're just signing guys here. Would you trust Hogan in the same spot like that?
Well, there's not really much you could do with the Hulkster as far as that. He's such a special attraction anyway. Obviously not going to wrestle anymore. I think that would be kind of cool too if he were available. I would like that, although it's so weird now with the way this culture is. Hulk isn't viewed the same way he used to be for whatever reason. I know obviously still in the autograph scene, still very popular, but the mainstream, the woke culture is kind of against him. Nobody's against Flair. Everybody's pro Flair. So I think it would be better, just beneficial.
I think that's interesting you say that, because I think it's because Hogan was so into the Hulk Hogan persona that eventually we got to see the man, where Flair's just Flair.
Yeah.
Across the, like we knew it back in the 80s, 70s and 80s.
Yeah, he's not a perfect person. Yeah,
he was out boozing it up. He was womanizing, and then we figured out he's a terrible dad, a terrible husband. So you embrace that, where Hogan was preaching the whole time, the vitamins, the prayers, and the training. And, then we find out that he's a swinger. He's dropping N-bombs, whatever the case might be.
J.J. Dillon told me a great, and I'm sure he's told this before, but he told me a great Ric Flair story that Flair, he's womanizing, he's doing his thing, but he always had a Rolex, almost like the Derek Jeter giveaway package after you sleep with the woman. He gives you something. Oh, yeah, I know Jeter probably has him sign an NDA. Hey, you can't say you slept with me or blah, blah, blah. But he gives him a care package and an autograph and whatever. So Flair's care package, after he was done with the woman, he would give him a Rolex or some sort of nice watch. And oh, wow, thank you. And they'd go away. One night he got so obliterated, he gave him his $25,000 Rolex, I guess by accident, the one that he was actually wearing. And the girl is on the elevator going down. JJ noticed, oh, he came out of Rick's suite, whatever, and he sees her, and they're like, meet. Obviously, JJ's from his room. She comes out of Rick's room. They meet in the elevator, go down, and she's holding his watch. So he has to talk the girl out of getting the Rolex back and bring her back up and switching the watches and giving her a different one. I was like, oh my God, it's so funny. It's just a stupid Flair thing, but I just think that's so funny. It's like, man, this guy is he's just so, the way he is, it's just like even his friends are looking out for him, hey, Rick, you may not want to give away this $25,000 watch to some random girl you're never going to see again. I don't know, just came to me, but it was like, man, that's Flair for it. But that's Rick being Rick, and I think you just laugh at it, and nobody holds it against him.
Hey, anybody listening right now, if you want all those stories from Mr. Dillon, all you gotta do is go over the 2-Man Power Trip patreon.com/ TMPT Empire. It's in the vault. It's all right there. That hundreds of hours of interviews with legends, current stars, and of course, right there, where are you going to get stories like that? First day with the guy that was managing the Horsemen. It was so great too.
But thank God JJ was there to catch that, because he would have. I know maybe Flair wouldn't have noticed till later on, but he would have lost $25,000 Rolex. Would not have been good.
What's that to the nature boy?
Yeah, it's, I guess, probably nothing. But so when I initially looked at the list, I said, okay, gotta have Flair. And I would want Christian. I think that he's a good kind of centerpiece. I know or AEW is not really booking him that great. He's just having random matches with random guys. I'd kind of do something more special with him. I know he's not as charismatic as like Edge as far as when you compare those two, but as far as these releases, I don't know. I would want Christian on my roster. I think he's a great hand, underrated in the ring. Always been that guy where you can have a good match with anybody. Maybe it's funny, he is Captain Charisma nickname wise, but obviously he's not like reeking with it like Edge. So I don't know. I would want Christian. So I would want Flair. I'd want Christian. I'd want Aleister Black as far as just some main event level or some of my bigger name guys.
I'm going to sit right now. I've got Flair. I've got him in my Welcome to the Red Planet, Flair and Christian. Right now, I'm going to put Aleister Black in. I'm going to have him on the fence, again, because of, we can find him on my list here, just because, we're going to have to get on board. We got to eliminate the kitty cat shows, the YouTube shows with the wife, the Q&As. But yes, definitely talent. So let's see if we've got the room for him here when we start pushing things. Some of those maybe not in ring, but they're going to bring so much, either if it's, just the leadership in the locker room, maybe use them as an agent in certain things, the wisdom, the ones that can get out there and talk to the media for you. I'm going to make myself only pick one here between Big Show and Mark Henry. I think they're both phenomenal picks here on this. I do feel Big Show comes off as maybe a little bit too comedic. And I do want some diversity because I want to touch different groups here. So I'm going to go with Mark Henry.
I will pick the Big Show. I just feel like he's got more of a name value. He can kind of bring more to the table. I'm hoping he can wrestle. I saw a picture of him with his tights on. I'm hoping he can wrestle again. I know Mark Henry's training to wrestle maybe one last match, but I feel like Big Show has the bigger name appeal, and which is what I want to go for. I would want Big Show for sure out of those two. And that's what I picked. I picked Big Show, but I did not pick Mark Henry on my list.
I'm gonna have Henry. I'm gonna take him.
Another name that I just part of like my bigger names, and that was Andrade. I feel like WWE could have done more with him. The way he was booked in NXT was great. Obviously, he had Zelina Vega, so it was a great package together. He was champ there. I feel like he was a lot better there. I want to hit that Latino market. I want to get that Hispanic market. I think he could do that. Not sure who I'd bring in for maybe a manager or something with him to be partnered. I wouldn't want Chavo. Obviously, definitely wouldn't want Vicky. And you can't get Zelina because she signed up with WWE again. But I would definitely want somebody with Andrade, maybe like a Selena De La Renta if she's not signed to NXT.
I was just about to say
that.
that.
Somebody like her, somebody good looking, fiery, younger, can really cut a good promo. So maybe her. But as far as like WWE releasing guys, him and Aleister Black are a little bit head scratchers because it's like, why would you release this guy? I know he wanted to go, and that's kind of the bottom line of why he was released. He wanted to leave, but if you're WWE, it's like, I don't care what you want, pal. Like you're staying around. I'm not letting you go.
With Andrade, because as going back to what I'm looking at here, I want those personas. I want diversity. I want storytelling. I want, again, empower social media. He's very present with his social media and mainly through his fiance, Charlotte Flair.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is a lot that where you could really blur the lines and get people interested as you put someone like Selena De La Renta, who is, one of the most beautiful women, in my opinion, in the world, just not professional wrestling. So maybe at some point, it does start off, this is strictly business. That's what she does. She's a manager of stars. She looks towards, that ethnicity, and she's making them shine. But maybe we start manipulating that social media a little bit. They're two different companies. They're on the road at different times, heading different places. Yeah. Maybe there's something going on,
You would want Andrade? Or you wouldn't want Andrade?
I'm taking Andrade.
Nice.
And that's that angle I'm going to play. I mean, incredible talent. Guy looks like $1 million, and you said diversifies your market, your demographic.
Another guy I would scoop up immediately, and I know it looks like turned out he's actually injured. He revealed, I guess, on social media, but Braun Strowman, 6'7", 350, whatever he is, 6'6", 350. I mean, monster, obviously the nickname, but just one of those guys is like, he's okay. one of the rare larger than life guys that they have, where if it's a house show or a live event or whatever it is, you see the guy, you're like, wow, who's this guy? Oh, wow, this is kind of reminds you of the old school a little bit when you used to go to the shows. You're like, shit, Warlord is freaking huge. He's like, wow, Bossman, Earthquake, Hogan, Andre, like, Hakeem, Hakeem, excuse me. You're saying all these, or you're seeing all these big guys and these great names, but I feel like Strowman would be somebody I would want, because I think that the mainstream would be like, wow, who is this big MFer? You know what I mean? Like, they would kind of see him and want to notice him, and so you bring the kids. It's like, wow, look at this guy, he's larger than life. I would sign Strowman in a second, and I'm shocked given that they were going back to live shows and doing live shows, and they need some big names. I know he hasn't been great, but at least he's been pushed. He's been a former world champion. I wouldn't have released him. And I would sign him pretty quickly to my list and make him one of my big names.
Well, are we hearing regularly that maybe they're back in negotiations, just trying to get off that big contract that they gave him? Hopefully bring him back into the fold.
But he's injured, apparently. Apparently his left leg is injured.
Well, how did he do that?
Who knows?
I'm going to stay off Strowman. And I do love your arguments there, the tremendous points that you made. I mean, people look at this guy and you just show them a picture and ask, what does this guy do? I'd be willing to bet 8 out of 10 times at least they're going to say he's a pro wrestler.
Right.
That's going to be in there. Either he's a football lineman or a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
I just don't know if this guy, where his mind's at. It seems that he has a lot of troubles when it comes to stability. You see just the way he kind of acts on some different issues there.
You'd have to rein him in social media.
On social media. Just what was he talking about? He's openly talking about how to kill himself. Dude, you're a giant monster here. I know everyone has depression issue, and you got to have help like that. But and then he was out showering with Mojo.
Yeah, see, you're right on the social media stuff. He would not allowed to do that. The thing where he was dressed up for Halloween, like a ballerina, whatever, he wouldn't be allowed to do that stuff.
The elf stuff, and I know you want to have fun. I guess potentially. I would entertain the idea, and that's where someone like a Mark Henry that I have, where you got Big Show, but I mean, they were there when he was there. Why wasn't someone like really mentoring him?
Yeah, he needs that.
And maybe they were trying it, and we both know how it is once you get inside that WWE system, they're trying to break you. And maybe that's why they didn't give that, because they said, you know what, we got to break this big SOB. Because how many times he said, "Oh, the only place I'll go is WWE," and
right.
if he's renegotiating, and taking a cut here, I'm gonna stay off of him for the time being. He's not going to be there when we launch.
What about Bray Wyatt? I feel like he would be a slam dunk for me, because I know maybe in ring he's not that great, but he cuts great promos. Character at one point was very interesting. I know the Yowie Wowie stuff. I know a lot of people like that. Didn't care for that. The Fiend itself had some potential, but it was weird that he never really cut promos as the Fiend. He just was the Fiend. You know what I mean? I would kind of want to develop maybe to see more of where that character goes. Could go into like a deep dark Kevin Sullivan, devil worshiper kind of direction. But I think it would be cool. I loved him doing the whole Cape Fear gimmick, like that. That Bray Wyatt I liked. That was cool, and kind of controlling these monsters, and I like that Bray Wyatt. But I feel like if you're gonna have him, he was a huge merch guy. If you want to start making some money on the other things that some other companies don't think of, the marketing and the merch, I feel like Strowman is Bray Wyatt is kind of a slam dunk in that direction. Former WWE champion a few times over, he's been a main eventer for them, so he immediately has some appeal. He's got some hey, this guy's a star attached to him. To me, I know he had some mental health issues, and I know he had some quitting issues where he wanted to go home issues, stuff like that. But I feel like if you get him maybe where he wants to be, keep him happy for a little bit, get him to sell some merch for you, I feel like he'd be a guy I would want on my roster. But you'd have to, have a mentor for him too, and make sure somebody's watching him.
I think he's a little bit
sure he's okay.
I know he's a little bit different than Braun Strowman, because Wyatt, multi-generation wrestler. He knows what this business is. And I think what you saw, the mental fatigue from him is you can only run your head into a brick wall so many times before it hurts, right?
Right.
I agree with everything you said. I think you hit the mark perfectly. In addition to just bringing him in and just cutting him loose to see what he can really do with that imagination that tremendous creative mind to his. I'm gonna use him in creative as well. I want him to sit in with us on meetings and help direction the entire show outside of himself, to see what he can bring and kind of elevate the whole team. I absolutely am bringing in Bray Wyatt. And also, as I still sit here looking at my on the fence list, Aleister Black still sits there. With Bray Wyatt, I might not need Aleister Black. And as you talked about, the difference in athleticism and in-ring styles, but again, my focus is more on that persona and the storytelling.
You could do like a Freddy versus Jason thing with Bray versus Aleister too. You know what I mean? Like, because they're both dark, a little disturbed, a little depressed.
I think
they got that thing going on.
As I get down here to, I know we got a long ways to go. So if I'm looking if I got to make a move and I got to pick one of the two, I'm leaning towards Bray.
Okay. I definitely would want both of them, and I think I'd put them both near the top of my card. Just, I don't know, I feel like WWE dropped the ball on both of them big time. Obviously, you hear all the complaints from Bray himself saying that he hated his booking there and everything else. But to me, I feel like they dropped the ball on him. Could have been something more. And, he's got his issues, but I feel like it's like a Scott Hall thing. If once you get those issues, he could be great, but then the issues kind of back up. So you got to need somebody or something. You got to somebody to manage him. I know, obviously, completely different than Hall, because Hall had his demons. But I'm saying that kind of personality where all these things kind of creep up, but you got to be able to manage it. I'm just saying talent level, like Scott Hall talent level through the roof. Bray Wyatt talent level, maybe not in the ring, but out of the ring, promos, character. He could do that better than anybody really on my list, I feel like.
Yeah, it's great value, and we both got him.
So all the other guys here I have just under my male list of superstars. Then I'll have a female list as well, but it's basically those were kind of my bigger names or my headliners or the guys that I want to push right away. These are the guys that I can definitely put in a main event possibly, but I want to build them up a little bit first. Some tag teams obviously in here too, but Bo Dallas is a guy I want. I feel like he was obviously way better Bray in ring, not obviously way worse promo wise and character wise. So there's something there with him. And if you saw his NXT title run, you're like, man, he's damn good. He's got a little bit of his dad in him, like wrestling ability wise. I feel like they dropped the ball on him. They didn't know what to do with him. They were trying to make him into like a silly character, trying to do the B team stuff, trying to do that wacky stuff with him, and it just didn't work. I feel like you could do a little bit of that, but let's get back to basics with him. Get him in the ring. Let's show what he could do talent-wise, because he's a damn good wrestler that just wasn't used because their creative team in WWE is creatively bankrupt.
When it comes to Bo, I'm gonna make a pass on it. And I know so many people, so many fans for a long time were clamoring for it. Man, put them together, him and Bray together as the family. So you can maybe do some kind of spinoff of the Wyatt Act with the Rotunda family.
Right.
I really, when it comes to Bo Dallas, man, when it was Bo leave, that was great. That was tremendous character work. It was just it was captivating. You wanted to. It was you love to hate the guy. I feel that we're so far removed from that, and he has been so damaged through the system that when I gotta come down and I gotta make cuts here, I just feel that he's too far gone.
Damn, Bo. I wonder who the hell is going to make your list here. There's so many guys, and none of them are kind of making it here. What about Bronson Reed? I have him on my list, and I feel like, and I can't even believe this, he was the NXT North American champion like 3 or 4 months ago. So obviously they thought something of him, and we're doing something with him. Then he loses the title because supposedly going up to the main roster. He supposedly has a few matches on the main event or some dark matches against Killer Cross. I guess Vince maybe didn't like what he saw for some reason, but to me, the potential is there. I feel like if he goes overseas, maybe to Japan or something, he could definitely be a bigger star. Even here, I think he could be. I mean, he's one of the rare big guys that's actually athletic and move a little bit. I know the character wasn't quite there, but you could do something with him. I feel like maybe create him into like a character, into a little bit of a force, give him that edge, give him make him a heel or something, and it kind of changes persona around. But there's something you could do there. Whenever you have a big piece of clay like that, I feel like there's something there. What do you think about Bronson Reed?
Well, you got the great Aussie there. I really like him as well. I didn't think they do him any favors with that wife little shtick that they had when he won the belt and his wife came out. It's like, nah, to me, as you said, man, he's a powder keg. They're not the
Yeah,
tallest
he's
guy, but
a
man, he's a
monster. Yeah,
powder keg. Yeah, he's going to come out, blow you up. It's just
300 pounds.
It's
Yeah,
just compressed, explosive power. It reminds me of, you can make a comparison to a modern day comparison to Jeff Cobb. They seem very similar to me, and
yep.
it's a throwback in maybe you sample things that made Taz so successful with
Right.
Bronson Reed. Yeah, I've got him. I've got him on my list. He's joining my roster.
So I put a couple tag teams, and I would want them in my tag division. The Forgotten Sons, Cutler and Blake. Man, they got screwed big time. We never really got to see their full potential. If you watch Impact now, I know technically Cutler signed there, but man, I thought there was world of potential there. I think Cutler is great. New Jersey guy, by the way. Another reason you gotta love him. And oddly enough, it's so weird. Like, speaking to him, he knows the same family that I know. It's just like weird. It's little New Jersey connection there. But to me, I was like, man, they dropped the ball on him all because of that Riker thing. But Riker got to stay, and these two guys had to go. It didn't make sense. I would sign those two guys in a heartbeat and put them in the tag division. Give them a little bit of I don't know, an incentive. Give them a little bit of a push. They didn't do anything with those guys. What about Cutler and Blake?
I'm going with them as well. And I like I said, I want to push the envelope. We're going to talk about the evolving kayfabe. We're going to talk about empowering social media, persona storytelling. I'm letting these guys come out and say, hey, you know what? We got let go because of our political beliefs. And the company was afraid because of, the extreme leftist pansies in this country. I'm going to embrace that. I want them to go right after that, forgotten something, what it should have been, what got them in trouble. That's what I want to utilize. And on top of that, I think they're just tremendous talents.
Yep. Also, Breeze, Fandango, to me, you want veterans. You want guys that are recognizable. You want guys that are still young, even though they're veterans, can still go in the ring. But you always hear stuff about how they were very valuable to the younger guys, and they could help the guys come through. And obviously, Breeze is a trainer, too, up there at the Flatback Academy. So, I mean, there is things that these guys could do just outside of the ring, but I do think they're kind of marketable inside as well. Like, I'm surprised that WB didn't have them on WB TV on Raw and SmackDown, but yet left them to go back to NXT and then got released. I don't know. I was a little bit surprised by those two just because I thought they had some legs underneath them and had some years left there. I would sign Breeze and Fandango, put them in my tag division.
Yeah, I think I bring them in, start working that tag because people are so familiar with them. I don't know if we'd have like a hard split where they're feuding eventually, but I wouldn't mind heading them in, taking them in different directions. And I think Curtis himself, Fandango, he's a main eventer. Guy looks like $1 million. It's going to take some time to building back towards that. Breeze works up and down the card for you. He can fill in wherever you need him, but he's so important in that backstage role. I would trust him, as the agent, as a mentor. That's really going to help drive this train forward. And again, like you said, all across the board, these guys have got value.
Go through a couple just quick here. I would sign Tony Nese and Bobby Fish. Maybe not put them together, but I would want them. Fish is a great veteran. Nese is a great young wrestler. Has a great look too. Everrise, the tag team, I would want them and immediately put them in my tag division. I love that they're not necessarily going to be world beaters and winning all these matches, but great enhancement guys, great guys that could lose, but then all of a sudden get on a winning streak, and I could see then maybe turn them face and get the crowd to get behind them. But I love those guys. I even love their promos because it's such like silly 80s style promo ability that I think that they would be great on the roster and in the tag division, and they could take losses and still have heat and it not hurt them as much. Did you have Nese, Fish, and Everrise?
I have all of those. Nice. On my list there,
Smart
Bobby
man.
Fish, just a hell of a technician. I think he's one of those good hands that you could, in that Breeze where you can move him at will and he's going to fit in to help you out for whatever your situation there is. And then maybe you find a groove where you catch some lightning in a bottle and he gets really hot there for you. Nese looks like $1 million. Yeah. I know he's a 205, a cruiserweight guy, but with his look and his strength, he doesn't have to work that way.
Right. And he's so muscular, you wouldn't think like, oh, 205. Like you immediately would not pay attention to that because
yes.
This guy's pretty short, but this guy's jacked. Like, yeah.
Yep. When it comes to Nese, he was one of those guys where I'm going to go ahead and move, and I'm going to think on him for a minute. I got Nese on the edge right now. but that look, that style. So I'm going to move Buddy Murphy to my on the fence. So I'm going to give Nice the edge there. So I do have Nice and I do have Fish. When it comes to Everrise, you nailed it, man. Character work, these guys get it. They're great.
Yeah.
I do wonder if the act is maybe a little too similar to Breeze and Fandango, but maybe make that work for a little bit.
Right.
You have them playing off of each other.
You mentioned Buddy Murphy. He's a guy I would immediately get on my list. Always was a big fan of him. Always thought he was a great wrestler. I'd have him as a singles. I wouldn't have him as a tag, and I would put him towards that main event. I remember Murphy and Black were having a little bit of a good feud there on WWE TV, but I feel like untapped potential with him. I thought he was going to go into a few more so with Rey Mysterio, maybe even Dominic, then Seth Rollins, and kind of do that. And they didn't do any of that. Really, really dropped the ball with him, and looks like $1 million. I mean, have you seen him lately? He is even more jacked to the nines than the last time we saw him. And he's athletic as hell. I think got money written all over him. I would definitely sign him. And another guy that I feel like they dropped the ball on, Killian Dane. I just feel like he could be another. I know some people feel differently. You get a monster, same thing with Bronson Reed. They got that same feel to him. Like, get a monster like that can move a little bit and work. I feel like I could do something with him. I would even think about putting Dane as a heel and putting him as Bray Wyatt's like bodyguard or something. I would do something with him, but I would immediately make him a heel and make him a monster. But Dane and Murphy, I would sign.
Like I said, I've got Murphy on the fence right now. I'm going to make a pass on Dane.
Oh no.
I know he's hit those just amazing, brilliant flashes of excellence. I think back to the War Games when he absolutely stole the show there with Sanity, correct?
Yep.
Incredible run for him there. But beyond that, there wasn't really a whole lot that clicked with me. I think when I'm looking at some big men here, I can invest my money elsewhere and really push my return on investment.
So that was basically my list as far as the males were concerned. Then I had some females, but who else made your male list here?
We got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Where are you at right now? I got 14 right now.
So I signed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I got 19 so far.
All right, I'm at 14. So I'm going to go, let me look down the list here. Here's one that this might surprise the people that have been listening to me here on Two Man Power Trip. I usually put down the little guys. It's not that I dislike the style. I dislike that there's so much of it. So I believe when it's truly unique, when you got really that spotlight on just a handful of individuals, it can be something very special. Man, I love me some Leon Ruff.
Wow, interesting.
I think, man, he could be like that Crash Holly, that Spike Dudley, and maybe in a brief instant, you get everybody that true underdog, that Rudy moment where it's that Mikey Whipwreck, and he does go to the top, man. I like him. I like his energy. I really believe that he's a hungry young kid. He realizes he's against the world on this thing, but it's ultimately his dream, and he's going to overcome that. I like him.
Damn, I'm shocked. Now, the rest of your talent woman driven, because I have 6 female talents I would sign pretty immediately.
Well, let's jump over. Let's see if I'm missing any guys here real quick.
Yeah,
well, I got Ruff in there, and let me see here. Where the heck's he at on here? He was one of the recent ones let go. Did I
Yeah,
I'll have to think of it. I'll say let me find him here. Go start with your ladies here.
So to me, you want name value, but you also want girls that could wrestle a little bit, but also look good because, like I said, it's a cosmetic business. But I want the channel changers. I want, perfect example of this would be Lana, and I would sign her in a heartbeat. And obviously VH1, she's on the Surreal Life that wants her in a heartbeat. It's guys love females, obviously, certain guys. If you're flicking through the channel and you see, a regular looking blonde, you might just keep flicking. See Lana, you're like, wait a second, who the hell is that? You go back. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of person you want. Somebody with the appeal, the mainstream appeal. The guy has a name value to her. She has a great following on Instagram. She's a great following on Twitter. She's very popular amongst that, I would use that to my advantage. She doesn't have to be a wrestler. She could be a valet. She could be something else. But I would probably sign Lana first. Then I would definitely want Mickey James for sure.
Okay.
I would want her not only
let's-
wrestling, but I'd want her as my agent. I'd want her behind the scenes. I want her in more of a capacity of a behind the scenes, but she would still be wrestling and she'd be on TV as well.
Okay, we'll start with Mickey. I agree wholeheartedly everything with Mickey. What she brings to the table across the board, from front office to entertaining the masses, is simply incredible. She's one of the all-time greats. So there is absolutely no way anyone would be a damn fool to pass her
Yeah,
up.
I can't believe they released her, to be honest.
She like we said earlier, she can get out there, she can work the masses. She's intelligent, she's entertaining, she's intriguing. Absolutely. Still one of the most beautiful women in the business.
Yep.
100% going with Mickey James. She's multi-talented. You can tie in with her music back there. There's so much you can do with her. Now, I got to disagree 100% on Lana.
What? Come on.
I went round and round myself with this for a little bit, and I eventually convinced myself that this was a hard no. I can go find a Lana almost anywhere in any major city. I can find a Lana. I can go to major independents that are, just in that below that Impact Ring of Honor tier, and find a Lana.
Yeah, but I don't know if you're going to find that following right away, because she's got millions upon millions of followers and people that follow her all over social media. So that's going to be hard. That's hard to duplicate, though.
I'm worried, and that's where I looked at maybe using her. I was going to use her like as a social media ambassador.
Right.
And who was Cage's wife that used to do that on Twitch for?
Oh, Melissa Santos.
Yeah, I thought she did a tremendous job. You know, when they would, when they had on Twitch and they would cut to the breaks instead of showing the commercial, she'd break down what had happened, and you had that interaction. So I mean, maybe if you brought Lana or something like that, and I'm worried if she's going to be able to transfer those followers on her social media to a wrestling product.
Okay,
is that why they're absolutely there for her? Because I think she did do a fairly decent job of. She looks incredible. I'm not going to take that away from her, but to me, I can do so much more with the different ladies on this list.
So I have, of course, talking about, again, the girl that can do it all, but they have to have the look and they have to have that channel changing appeal to me. Chelsea Green easily would sign her. I know. Oh, she's injured or whatever. So then she could be a manager or an announcer. I mean, she's a million different things that she could do. Shocked at her release. The rumors of like attitude problems. Not seeing that, but maybe said something to the wrong person. You never know in WWE. You could say, cut the person. For instance, Dr. Tom told me a great story. Sheamus by accident cut somebody years ago in catering without realizing it, wasn't paying attention, and he got heat for it for like months. And like stupid things like that could happen to somebody. So who knows? Maybe I stepped on somebody's foot by accident. Oh, now she's got heat. So Chelsea Green, I would sign in a heartbeat. Another one would be Santana Garrett. I feel like there was so much potential in her, and they just didn't see it. And to me, it's fascinating because obviously another one of those girls is like, wow, can wrestle. She could definitely talk a little bit. She can definitely have the look for somebody wanting to change the channel to see who that was. So I don't know. Santana Garrett has a lot of potential too.
Well, I think, looking at how mine's lining up here already, I got Mickey James, that just all around, five-tool star veteran.
Yep.
You got Chelsea Green, who is great in the ring, looks amazing.
Yep.
But still is so diverse in her character work, what she can do.
So too.
Man,
Laurel Van Ness with the crazy character.
She kills that crazy character. So now we've got our vet who is so talented and can cover so many different areas for us. What we got our hot crazy girl here that can go. We got Santana Garrett, who screams Wonder Woman. Get behind her is that big baby face. I mean, she uses it in her gimmick, but it fits her perfectly. So yes, I'm going to put Santana Garrett in, and I'll throw another one here at you. As we're kind of diversifying our women's divisions, you're going to hit this different demo. She's our punk rocker, and that's Ruby Riott.
Interesting. I didn't have her on my list, but my last two signees, the Iconics, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, obviously, again, beautiful girls. They're going to be channel changers, but they are characters. They are funny. I do think that they get it. I know Vince thought they were boring or whatever he said about them, but I think that they get it. They could be your characters. And Peyton, especially, I mean, she's got like model looks where you'd want to change channel. Like, who the hell is this girl? You know what I mean? Like, she's definitely one of those girls. And Billie Kay is a great character. She did so much with so little. They gave her that resume thing, which is like, oh, this is horrible. And she actually turned it into something entertaining. So I feel like you do something with her, or even say, hey, what do you have in mind? What do you think you could do with your character? And those two, I think, would kill it because they're doing that stupid Three Amigos thing that they were doing. That I thought was funny. I don't know if anybody else would even get that reference, but it just really, that was great. I was like, okay, that's funny. They're thinking out of the box. They're doing something different. Those would be my last two signees. That would be a total of 25 in total, but Peyton Royce and Billie Kay were my final two.
Peyton seems, you heard how she's talked in interviews afterwards about how maybe she didn't understand things, how she put herself in bad positions. And I really admire what she's doing now. They're taking the improv class. She's trying out there to chase some other dreams. She's got that taste of that spotlight, and she wants to continue to follow that. And when she even called herself an introvert, so she's taking a lot courage to try to overcome that. I thought in my mind about splitting these two up, but I think you got to have them together.
Yeah, have to.
You got to keep them together. Let them go out there and work their magic. They're not necessarily, always in tag matches and all that, but always where they have each other's back. So I do have Royce and Kay on there. I am going to add one as we look for. They're all playing roles. We've got all these parts. I got my ass kicker, man, and I think the world of her. I've been a huge fan for years, and I hope at some point that we'll be able to bring her in for a show here, and that's Mercedes Martinez.
I was on the fence about her as well, but I wanted to stick to my 25. But yeah, she was right on the fringe of who I would sign. But that's my 25. Flair, Christian, Big Show, Black, Andrade, Strowman, Bray, Fish, Dane, Everrise, Buddy Murphy, Bronson Reed, Nice, Breeze, Fandango, Cutler, Blake, Dallas, Peyton, Lana, Santana Garrett, Mickey James, Chelsea Green, and Billie Kay. For Paz Pro Wrestling, aka my WCW 2.0, want to kind of get it off the ground in a 5-year plan. Definitely got to get TV. Definitely got to get streaming, and want to use Flair as my promotional tool.
All right, I got 23, so I got 2 spots to fill here, and I'm looking at maybe some talents that we are going to grow on our own here. And I found the gentleman back to my male division that I wanted to bring in. I wanted to add him, and I think it gives us some great diversity for a very young talent. Still has ways to go, but there's going to be a lot of growth there, and it's Jake Atlas.
Yeah, ton of potential there. They didn't even give him a chance.
I'd say, and it's one of those things too. We're being real. We want to play to what's really happening. We want to talk about issues, and we're going to brace, that he is openly gay, that he is inside of that community, and that's where he's at. And I think he's got a tremendous talent. But a couple years away from really maybe hitting that main event scene for us, but looking forward to him. So I got one more here, right? So let's go to my on the fence. I got Aleister Black and Buddy Murphy. They're both wanting a job here. It's down to these two.
Wow.
I got Nice and Murphy. I think I can go with them. You know what? We are going with Aleister Black. He's got a spot. He's got a spot on my roster here. He kind of screams Mars, right?
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, Martian.
Absolutely. So I think that's a great stopping point because, man, we went through the list of all those 50 plus releases. We ended up with 25 in total here. Love that we're breaking it down like that. Did something different here on the show today. Absolutely. Talking about more current stuff than we normally do, but great stuff there. Let's hit the plugs. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. Check out the website, tmptempire.com. And of course, patreon.com/tmptempire for more. Rick, what do you got as far as plugs? You're still on mute there, Rick.
Sorry about that. We are on the big move. Sorry about the little issue there. We are on the big move with the Hobby Media Group, switching everything over to the Realm Network, and you got so many different tiers, all the different great content. So again, follow the Hobby Media Group across all social media at the Hobby Media Group, and just keep up with everything at the all new therealmnetwork.com.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see you right back here next week for a little 2-man power trip. See you next week.